have spent a good chunk of my adult life using pen-enabled devices, mainly using Wacom EMR, with one of the latest iterations being the Z Fold phones. This one is the Z Fold 5. And I have good notes here. It has become my note-taking application of choice because it syncs across Windows, Android, and iOS if you have a paid account. And with the Samsung devices, the latest ones give you a year free. And Wacom is a very known entity for me. I've been using it on Samsung S Pen devices since the very beginning. I have a couple of Onyx Books devices that are e-ink note-taking tablets that I use with Wacom EMR pens. I have a small collection of these pens. This one is a Samsung pen that's designed to switch between the weird changes they made in the frequency for the Z Fold so that the tip would have a little bit more give because of these really soft screens, and then the regular S Pen. So I can really only use specific pens with the Z Fold, which is irritating, but they are still Wacom EMR. But it's a known entity. If I write on this screen, that is my handwriting without me trying to be pretty. That's just how it looks normally. And I can write fast. And it looks fine, right? That is how my handwriting would look on paper. Not the best if I'm going fast, but perfectly legible. That's Wacom, and I've been using Wacom for a long time. I've also used Wacom AES, and I've tried out Microsoft Pen Protocol, which used to be Entreg, on a couple of Surfaces that I've owned over the years. And I have a Windows tablet now that uses MPP, and I actually prefer Wacom AES over MPP. And I've used the iPad with their Apple Pencil, and they're all fine. I still prefer Wacom EMR, but the one I hadn't used was USI because it's relatively new. And so I picked up a very inexpensive USI pen from Amazon. I don't even know if it has a brand name, but it's got a tip you can use capacitively, just like your finger, and then it's got the regular USI piece, and it charges over USB. And it's got buttons, and you have to turn it on. It lights up when it's on. You can see it's green. So I picked up a Chromebook Duet, which I have here, thinking this would be an inexpensive way to get into testing out USI functionality. I've got my same app. In fact, this was the same page. I just erased what I had there before. In fact, if I go back in here and I write on it with my Z Fold, you should see it popping up because it's supposed to sync. So that's me writing on my Z Fold. But if I come in here now and I use the Chromebook with this USI pen, you can see where I started here. I don't seem to have the same level of control, and I'm not writing any differently. And you see my handwriting doesn't look as good. If you look at the numbers, they're messier, and I'm not writing any differently. So I have noticed that if the Chromebook Duet gets bogged down with too many applications, handwriting suffers. So sometimes I have to restart it. And it may be that this device, which I bought open box from Best Buy, just isn't the most optimal device to be using for USI pen testing. Nevertheless, it's what I had. So I picked up the Lenovo pen, the Lenovo Precision pen that's meant to be used with this device. It's USI 2.0. And I can show you any differences here. And again, you can see it just isn't as good. And I can bring the Z Fold back in again to show you. And there's just a difference. And it's just enough to drive me mad. And at some points, it's even so bad, again, and I think it's specific to this device. If you get a Chromebook Duet, get one with more than 4 gigs of RAM, because I do think the extra RAM makes a difference in performance. I will get spots sometimes where it will just stop writing and it'll just skip markings. It'll just lose track of what's happening. So I kind of gave up on the Chromebook Duet for writing. And I picked up another open box device, but a Pixel tablet. And I've got a different notebook in here, so I don't have any of the previous markings in here. But using the same crappy pen, I don't know if you can see that it is a little bit better. It's looking kind of fuzzy. If I bring in the Lenovo pen, I don't know, there's more latency. But you see, it looks a little bit better, but it's missing strokes. I wrote a whole T, but the whole T doesn't come through. But these markings do look a little bit better than with the other pen. So, test writing slower with the Fold. And a test writing slower with the Pixel. If I take my time, they're pretty comparable. But if I'm speeding up, and you can even see when I'm writing fast, how some of my strokes are lost. Again, this is usable. I think one of the biggest differences for me, just in the technologies in general, is that you don't get any kind of cursor location indication with the USI pen. Wherever you write, wherever you put the tip, and I don't know if I'm holding it straight. But you don't get any kind of indication, and I'm looking at this through the camera instead of looking at it directly, so this is hard. And my handwriting's bad. But you have to kind of pay attention to where the tip is and assume that that's where it's going to start. If you have it in an angle, it may not be perfectly that way. It may not hit exactly at the angle you're expecting. Whereas with EMR, at least on most tablets, not on e-ink, I'm not even sure if you're going to be able to see that, but there's a little dot underneath the tip. So you can see where it's going to land. Yeah, that's hard to see. But having that hovering dot makes a difference in when you're holding it at an angle, knowing exactly where it's going to hit, helps you line things up better. Whereas with USI, and this is true of Apple Pencil before the latest Pencil Pro, I had the same issue with that. It didn't have hover. They've added it with the latest M4 iPad Pros and the Pencil Pro. You have the hover feature now. But for artists, I know having that floating dot showing you where the pen's going to hit makes a big difference in being able to pinpoint and have your lines hit exactly where you want them to hit. So I think for general purpose writing, there's enough similarity and enough solid performance out of USI that I could use this for note taking, especially with the Pixel, because I haven't had to restart the device to get it to respond. I haven't had as many issues with it missing strokes as I did with the Chromebook Duet. I do think if you get a responsive device and a pen that feels good in the hand, has good weight, the pen oval is pretty good. And this particular case I have for the Pixel, this is the Spec Mag Folio. It's got this loop, so it just fits in the loop, and that just makes it extra convenient. I do think that USI is usable for note-taking. I don't know that I would recommend USI for art, though, because I do think having that hovering dot showing you where the pen tip is going to land is important for precision work. But usually for note-taking, you're not as worried about precision. You're just worried about legibility and usability. So I would say that if you are interested in how USI performs compared to the other standards, especially the standard of Wacom EMR, I consider Wacom EMR the gold standard. And with that hovering cursor, it really does solidify its worth and its value for artists. But out of the other protocols, moving EMR off to the side, I would say AES, which is really no longer used. It's been supplanted, I think, in new devices by Microsoft's Pen protocol that you see with the Surface devices. MPP is, I would have said a month ago I thought MPP was pretty terrible, but actually compared to USI, I think they are very similar. You do get hovering cursor with MPP, which does make a huge difference, again, for precision work. But in terms of how you're able to control your lines, especially if you're an artist, I see reviews of artists doing diagonal lines all the time because you can get jaggies, especially if you go slow. And I'm not really seeing that. I don't do a lot of writing with diagonal lines, but I know with MPP and even to a certain extent AES, that was an issue. I don't really have that issue here, so I think that's promising and a pro for USI. So between USI and MPP, I don't know, it's a draw. It's a draw for me because I do like the hovering cursor. But I do think that if you're just interested in note-taking, because if you're just navigating the device, you do get little pop-ups when you're in some apps. Of course, not in GoodNotes. Oh, now it's doing it. Sometimes it will show you. Yeah, here we go. It'll show you little pop-ups for what's happening when you hover over things. So it has detection. It's just for whatever reason they've just opted not to do the hovering dot here. But I think USI is good if you have a device that's got enough power. Hopefully this comparison gives you a sense of what to expect if you're picking up a USI device for note-taking. Thanks for watching.